Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. Today, we are reading hopefully part 2 of chapter 1, the complete thing. So, we left off on page 25, and we're going to start on page 26. This book is Colorado&Southern Railways, Denver and New Orleans Route by James R. Jim Jones. So, page 26, we get Denver-New Orleans railroad equipment. So this actually tells us all the equipment, which is nice. So in terms of passenger locomotives, we had 4. Freight locomotives, we also had 4. Passenger cars, they had 4 passenger cars. Baggage, mail, and express cars, they had 2. They had 60 boxcars, 14 stock cars, 175 platform and coal cars, and 55 other cars. In total, they had 310 pieces of equipment, and this was in 1885. The Bill and Sue Notes collection. Brass switch locks discourage miscreants from sending trains down the wrong track. This hard-shaped piece was used by the Denver-New Orleans from 1881 until its reformation as the Denver, Texas, and Gulf 4 years later. An S below the D&NO stamp means switch. And then we have Denver-New Orleans Railroad Co. for the year ending of June 30th, 1885. Officers and offices of the company operating. So the president is John Evans. Vice President is Sidney Brown. Secretary is Charles Winsler. Treasurer is Charles B. Counts. General Manager is Cyrus W. Fisher. Chief Engineer is P.F. Barr. Superintendent of Telegraph is J.T. Spear. Auditor is Charles Wheeler. General Agent of Traffic is W.S. Taylor. General Solicitor is Wells, Mackin, and McNeil, all located in Denver, Colorado, their offices. Denver-New Orleans defaults on loans within a year. A lethal combination of insufficient revenue and pressure from the hostile tripartite group made up the Denver and Rio Grande, Santa Fe, and Union Pacific railroads proved insurmountable. In 1880, this transportation trio had signed an agreement to pool all of Colorado traffic amongst themselves. The tripartite refused to exchange freight or passengers, even with the cargo had been specifically consigned to the Denver-New Orleans by shippers. As a result, April Fool's Day, 1883, was no laughing matter when the Denver-New Orleans defaulted on its note. With help from the Fort Worth and Denver City Railroads, Grenville Dodge, Evans and Associates regained control. As the year came to a close, the embattled Denver-New Orleans had survived its first full year. Despite the tripartite's attempts to thwart them, by 1885 the 3-year-old railroad had aged well beyond its years. Ruinous rate wars dropped the Denver to Pueblo passenger fares from $5 to only 75 cents, and the tripartite members' refusals to interchange traffic led to this 1885 report from Colorado Railroad Commissioner W.B. Flecker. The Denver-New Orleans is sadly out of repair. Financial distress is such that it could not maintain its roadbed and track. Very little work has been done. It it is by no means in a safe and proper condition, which the law requires should be furnished and traveling public. This track must be repaired, or criminal negligence will rest upon somebody, and certainly will not be upon the commissioner. The commissioner's report credited the railroad with $269,431 worth of equipment, including 4 passenger and 4 freight locomotives, valued at $98,529. 22 stations were listed, of which 9 were telegraph equipped. The line employed 1 roadmaster with an annual salary of $1,500. 8 master and assistant mechanics earned $1,040. A train dispatcher collected $1,500. 3 conductors pulled $1,200 each. 4 engineers made $1,386 per. 6 firemen and wipers averaged $702. 5 brakemen at $780. 3 section foremen grossed $840. 1 baggage man at $480. And 15 section labor made due with $468 annually. Ignore the cat. Okay. Denver, Texas, and Gulf Railway. Broad gauge route. North, south, and east. Broad grade coaches over a smooth track. Convenient hours make this the favorite route to the capital. Fast time, lowest rates, and sure connections. With all eastern trains at Denver. Through tickets at lowest rates to all points. A.W. Grover, Superintendent. W.S. Denver, Traffic Manager. So, if you're wondering what this means, this is a poster, supposedly, and basically, the Denver Texans and Gulf sort of took over the Denver-New Orleans during this time, and yeah, and it is known as the broad gauge route at this time, because if you don't know, all the other railroads that went down here, specifically the Denver and Rio Grande, were narrow gauge. The Santa Fe hadn't yet reached up to the Denver by this time, so they couldn't possibly actually hit it. So currently the Denver-New Orleans was the only standard gauge route south from Denver. Denver-New Orleans becomes Denver, Texas, and Gulf. The operations, a reorganization could inject new life into their struggling railroad. Denver-New Orleans stockholders agreed to a Denver, Texas, and Gulf rebranding during the May of 1885. So the DT&G charter was less ambitious. Carrier was steadfast in meeting its Fort Worth and Denver City Railroad allies at the Canadian River. In the meantime, they were determined to build a local freight business. So from the Charles Matthews Collection, Pikes Peak Library District, the August 4th, 1885 Field and Farm Report in Denver, Texas, and Gulf is making an effort to dairymen who supply the city of Denver with milk. Select places along its line between the city and Eastonville on the Palmer Divide. They will offer all the facilities and accommodations possible in the way of fast trains and low rates. The scheme is a good one and should command the attention of those who milk cows for city traffic. Then we got a below that image, which shows a field of cattle. And then we have a mercantile trust in number 446 in the bottom right hand corner, and number 212 in the left hand. the next page, page 30, we have a station list for the Denver, Texas, and Gulf Railroad. So, and it's a timetable actually. So, let's read through this. 8 a.m. Departure, Denver. 8:04, machine shops. 8:08, Denver, South Park, and Pacific Railroad crossing. 8:12, Denver and Rio Grande Railroad crossing. 8:15, Circle Railroad crossing. 8:20, Colorado. That's a name I've never heard before. 8:35, Melvin. 8:53, Parker's. 9:15, Bellevue. 9:34, Elizabeth. 9:52, Cameron. 10:05, Elbert. 10:17, Sydney. 10:29, Easton, or Eastonville later. 10:45, Granger. 10:57, Bierstadt, or Brierstadt. 11:05, Manitou Junction. 11:30, Colorado Springs, if you take that Y. 11:55, Manitou Junction. 12:08 p.m., Franceville Junction. And if you take that line, somewhere in between that, Franceville. 12:08, Franceville Junction. 12:22, Fountain. 12:31, Little Butte. 12:41, Wigwam. 12:53, Pinion. 1:03, Cactus. 1:15, Pueblo. And then has that also going back up, so the train should arrive back in Denver by 7 o'clock. This Denver, Texas, and Gulf timetable of 1886 still showed Hilltop as Bellevue, while Falcon was 2 years in the future. For the time, Ranger was the biggest stop between Eastonville, shown here as Easton, and Franceville Junction. Mainline locomotives took water at Denver, Melvin, Parker's, Elizabeth, Elbert, Eastonville, Granger, Bierstadt, Franceville Junction, Little Buttes, Pinion, and Pueblo. Which makes sense. So then we have the Denver to Fourth Road and the Gulf, the Panhandle route, another nickname for this route, and it shows of the overland route of the Gulf Division. And then, yeah, see some photos. Yeah. You also see a road map of the full line. And that is the end of chapter 1, which is surprisingly shorter, but hey, it is what I promised. I would only read to chapter 1. So this is probably going to be the shortest episode by far. But next time we will be reading chapter 2. We'll probably read chapter 2 in its entirety. I probably could have read chapter 1 in its entirety, but I got tired and there was children screaming in the background because siblings are siblings. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Colorado and Southern Railways D&NO route by James R. Jim Jones. And I hope to see you next time. Goodbye.